This was a big Viking win today. Vikings 28, Green Bay Packers 22. Game ended on a sack of Aaron Rodgers and a fumble recovery. Again, the Vikings win this game 28-22. Big time win for the Vikings. The game at halftime was 14-14. The Vikings came out and scored the next 14 points in the second half, went up 28-14. The Vikings defense held the Packers until late into the fourth quarter when the Packers got a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, making the score 28-22 Vikings. The Vikings got the ball back late in the game. They got a couple of first downs, but were not able to run out the clock. The Packers got the ball with about 47 seconds or so left in the game. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers threw a couple of 7-yard passes to move the ball down the field. But when they counted, the Vikings defense held up big time, sacked Aaron Rodgers, and got the fumble recovery. So all in all, this was a very big win for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are now at 2-5. The Packers dropped to 5-2. This was a big divisional win for the Minnesota Vikings. This game was played in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, and the Vikings went in there and did what they had to do to come out with a win. Both of these teams have sorry defenses, but the Vikings at the end, their defense pulled it out. Big win for the Minnesota Vikings. Skol Vikings. This is the Vikings post-game show.
The silence you hear is Lambeau Field. It was empty anyway, but there's the final stunning score. The Vikings upsetting the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau 28-22. Yeah, I think the most shocking part about this game is the fact shocking that the Vikings won this football game. 28-22 is the final score. Welcome to the Vikings post-game live. Joined by Pete Bursic here as well. The Minnesota Vikings found a way to beat the Packers in a really wild game, Pete Bursic, because it looked like in the first half, the team that had the ball last was going to win this football game the way those two offenses were going back and forth without a punt to be had.
No, in the beginning, it was kind of like the first matchup where the Vikings and the Packers each only possessed the ball a handful of times in the first half. So to get the ball twice in the first half, both ways, and for every team, each team that touched it, whenever they touched it to score a touchdown, that was a very, it's unique. You don't see that a lot. And then it was the second half. The Vikings, when they came out in the second half, I was surprised that they took the wind to their back in the first and the third quarters. They capitalized on that. They scored 14 points in the third quarter to give themselves enough of a cushion to keep this a 28-22 game.
Hey, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up on this show. We're going to hear news conferences from head coach Mike Zimmer, from Kirk Cousins. Of course, recapping Dalvin Cook's big day against the Packers coming off that injury. What an afternoon that young man had. But let's take a look, Pete. First of all, at the highlights, because the Packers took the ball and they went right down the field and scored a 13-play, 75-yard drive.
Yeah, it took a lot of time off the clock, and the amazing part is just that our young corners can start to know where they are on the field and know what they have to leverage. They're going to start shut down some of those plays.
Man, we see a lot of this, sort of the Green Bay Packers defense.
Well, when you run the ball like that and you can be explosive in the running game, it just takes it out of the defense.
Rodgers doing a little bit of a pick play, but Devontae Adams was was his really only target as far as wide receivers.
It was. You compare that 14 reception, 156 yard, 2 touchdown game. Last time we played, they did a nice job.
Dalvin Cook doing his thing here. 4 touchdowns in all. The first Viking to score 4 touchdowns since Ahmad Rashad back in 1979 or something. A long time ago.
It has been a long time. And for Kirk Cousins, I mean, how many third downs did he throw across the yard to gain? I mean, basically the best weapon that he had on third down was a check down or a screen to Dalvin Cook.
And here it is, the final play of the game. DJ won from behind, and again, the shocking part for me was that the refs didn't call it an incomplete pass. Like that's the way it always goes.
Yeah, it does. And Paul, I'm sorry.
Here's the talking to Paul.
I know, I've been talking to Paul Allen for the last 3 hours. They're all excited about. Sorry about that, Rosie. But the main thing, and again, looking at the final statistics, Paul, Rosie, is that there are 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. Green Bay had 1. We had 0. That's where it all starts. That's where it all begins. And then you take a look at the 173 yards rushing. I mean, really, they didn't ask Kirk Cousins to do much today. He really didn't have to do much today. Dalvin Cook took it on him. I'm very impressed by the offensive line and the job they did today. I'm also very impressed by C.J. Hammond, fullback, and our tight end group. Our tight end did some of the heavy lifting to get Dalvin not just through the defensive line, but into that second level, and they made some of those plays explosive.
I was right behind you when you were doing the broadcast with Paul Allen, and you said maybe the Packers had a little bit of quit in that defense, looking at the way they were approaching things, and maybe Dalvin Cook just broke their spirit on the offensive line.
I think so. I mean, how else do you explain it? I mean, Dalvin Cook, he's an amazing football player, but you take a look at the Packers and what they did this week. I mean, they had a walkthrough practice on Wednesday. You had guys like David Bakhtiari and Aaron Jones who were questionable for this game. They could have gone. It seems almost as if they are waiting for this Thursday night game against San Francisco. And it just seemed like that mentality was there and it was present. You get a guy like Dalvin Cook to get in there and just not let up, keep the foot on the gas pedal. A good defensive front now with Green Bay. They struggle. They struggle to stop Dalvin Cook. They couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop him on the ground. No matter how many guys they put in the box. That's an amazing thing. We haven't seen anything like that since Adrian Peterson's been here. For a one guy to really steal the show.
30 carries. My goodness, that is workmanlike performance, and then some 163 yards. Most importantly, the 5.4 average per carry and the 3 touchdowns. But it was Dalvin Cook's day, and it's his team right now.
It is, and again, out of the backfield, I mean, you get 2 receptions for 63 yards, one touchdown. Both of those were key third downs, and so Dalvin Cook was the offense. He was the fire. That's what this team needed. Losing Ngakoue in the bye week, you have a lot of question marks. You needed someone to come out there and provide that fire. And Dalvin Cook offensively absolutely did. I think this game exposed a couple other things the Packers need. They need a number 2 wide receiver. They're out there, and it was interesting to watch. They're out there, with regular personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back. And basically, they kept Tyler Urban in there as almost like another wide receiver. So Green Bay has some issues, I think. And they have some personnel issues that they're going to have to take care of. But I think mainly the big thing was just the attitude of this team. They had some fight in them. They had some dog in them. They went in there. They went on the road. I think, again, Green Bay, for whatever reason, I think they just took the Vikings a little bit too lightly today, and it allowed them to get up on them by 2 touchdowns.
I'll be anxious to hear from both head coach Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins. Will carry those news conferences for you here in just a little bit. How much the wind played a factor in the game?
It was a big factor for the Vikings.
Rodgers had to throw at the end of the game, but they weren't throwing 40, 50 passes in this football game. Definitely one side favored the other in terms of the wind conditions, but it certainly played into the Vikings' strengths today, running the football and doing what they had to do to maintain that time of possession.
Yeah, it did, and I think it had more to do with special teams in this game than it did anything else. And that was a surprise. Again, when you win the toss, you get to make one decision at a time, so you defer. Green Bay says, we'll take the ball. You get to pick what end zone you want to defend, and we chose to have the wind at our backs the first and third quarter, which was interesting to me because it's saying, all right, we want Rodgers to have the wind in the second and the fourth. I was scratching my head a little bit about that. But that win did matter, and I think it mattered most really in the kicking game more so than anything else.
Going back to the first game of the season, which of course was right behind us here at US Bank Stadium, Green Bay dominated the Vikings. Maybe they did take it a little easy on them as well, but I know head coach Mike Zimmer is now talking with the media from Lambeau Field, so we're going to try to catch up with Mike Zimmer right now.
I thought this was a really good team win today. We fought like crazy offensively. I thought we did a really nice job of, scoring those first two drives, kind of controlling the game, and then coming out in the third quarter and playing a lot better. We didn't turn the ball over today. We still had some penalties, but we didn't beat ourselves. And then, defensively, we played the run a lot better in the second half, which was a big key to it. And then, we kind of ran out of DBs there in the third and fourth quarter. So we were trying to just manufacture some ways to get these guys covered. They're a good football team. They got an unbelievable quarterback. They've got a great receiver, and fortunately, their one runner didn't play today. So I'll take questions.
When you have to, you mentioned that you ran out of DBs. When you have to ask somebody to do a position switch that they probably didn't practice all week, do you have to abandon a lot of the weekly defensive game planning that you've done?
Well, it depends on the person that we put in there, but not necessarily. At that point in the game, it was not about pressures and different things. It was more about coverage, and those guys should know those pretty well.
Mike, speaking of DBs, how is Cameron Dantzler doing?
Cam's doing better. He went to the hospital, evaluated for concussion. They're bringing him back now, and he should head back to us tonight. With us tonight.
Mike, you talk about how hard this team works. Did you see this game coming? Did you see this team coming out and performing like they did today?
It's hard to say, Joe. I'm not the best predictor in the world. I rode him pretty hard in practice this week. We've got so many young guys, and so many young guys that we're trying to get ready for prime time, I guess is the best way to say it. And it just takes more time than we'd like. Now that with the corner situation that we've had, and the things that we've had to do has just been makes it tougher and tougher. We bring a guy in off the street, and he's got to go play the game. So, but we had a lot of rookies out there today on defense. They played very hard. They didn't always play well, but they played hard, and and they made some mistakes, and hopefully we can correct those tomorrow.
Like when a player like DJ Wanham comes up with that strip sack at the most needed time, Eric Hendricks was saying this is what the rookies should learn, that they can make a big difference in a game, just one play. How important is that for a young guy like that?
Yeah, well, I think it's
huge.
important for not only him, but other guys to see
It
that
is
as well.
huge.
And then, part of the thing with DJ is, and with all young players, is learning to trust your athleticism and kind of just free flowing and playing. And I think maybe that kind of thing will help him in the future as far as him. I was able to do it on a big play, and I can do it again.
Mike, you made some comments about Dalvin Cook, but what can you say about Dalvin's 4 touchdown performance today?
Well, Dalvin is a terrific player. He's a great runner. The screen run, I think, was an outstanding play by him. We did get some guys downfield and block for him, but part of it too is I thought we had a good scheme against them, and I thought our offensive line did an outstanding job. So Dalvin's great. There's no doubt about that. Glad he's on our team. But the offensive line and the receivers and the tight ends did a nice job blocking for him as well.
Mike, did you expect to see different things from the Packers because of the win and just how they approached their game plan?
You'd have to ask them. I think they probably started with a few more runs than early in the game than they did previously. So maybe that was it.
This was a big Viking win. I know that. Big time Viking win. Mike Zimmer.
Go ahead, Craig. What went into the decision to send Gladney on that 3rd and 9? Well, it's always a risk to blitz Aaron, but that seemed to work out really, really well for you guys.
Well, we kind of had a feel for the protection as the game was going on, and the guys upstairs told me what the protection was, what it predominantly was, and so I thought we had a chance to maybe get a free runner.
On 4th and 9, were you surprised at all that they picked up the flag on Anthony? Looked like he might have been there a little soon.
I thought he was going for the ball, Mark. So I got reprimanded for that, though.
Mike, this is a game you had to pass the game. A lot of coaches involved, a lot of young guys playing well. Do these mean more to you, or at some point? I mean, do you feel a little more jacked up after a game like this?
Maybe later. Right now, I think I got to get some of that. What's that hair for men stuff called? To get the gray hairs back out. It was very, very hectic on the sideline today. We had a rookie run out there and didn't get off. He wasn't supposed to be out there and had to get off the field, so we got a penalty on that. We had corners that were gone that hurt. We had to play with a nickel back that wasn't there, and just trying to manufacture all those things and get the calls that they could execute as well. And but there's so many things I see during the game. Rodgers scrambling around in the corners underneath the receiver, and he's staring at Rodgers instead of getting underneath the receiver. And there's so many things that hopefully we can teach off of this tape and be better for it in the future.
Mike, when Matt LaFleur makes that comment earlier
Excuse me?
When Matt LaFleur makes that comment earlier this week that Jefferson's, a number one receiver, and he's, 6 games into his rookie career, did that kind of maybe foreshadow or anticipate in your mind that he would draw the shadow from Jair Alexander?
We anticipate all those things if that's what's happening. But when I saw it, if he was in the...
Okay, I'm going to pause this right here and say that, they double teamed Jefferson. They pretty much stopped him today. I think he only had one catch, 7 yards or so, something like that. So Justin Jefferson didn't do much today. But, yeah, I figured they would double him up. But, again, the Vikings didn't really need to throw the ball when Dalvin Cook is running the way he's running.
Alexander went outside, so, I don't know.
Mike, what do you tell your defense? I mean, they opened the game with a third.
Actually, Justin Jefferson had 3 catches for 26 yards. So that probably was the lowest of his career as a starter.
10-play drive and a 15-play drive. What do you tell them at that point to settle them down? Was it as simple as you said, just be better against?
Being better. We made some adjustments in the run game. We had added some calls in there that, at halftime, once we got kind of a feel for what they were trying to do in the running game. But, we had 1st and 20, and we had really a cover 2 blitz. So, because I'm trying to protect the corners, so we got a cover 2 blitz. And, they throw it in the flat, and we miss a tackle, and it goes for 20-some yards. It's things like that.
It's crazy.
So frustrating.
It's crazy.
You just got to keep. We called it again later, and it worked good. So it's just. But it's what I talk to the team about all week is effort and execution. Trying to execute what we're trying to be, whatever the defensive or offensive call is, or special teams. Execute and give great effort. And and if that happens, then they're better than us, and they're better than us.
Mike, what was the thinking on calling Hercules up and having him play some defensive end and being in there at the end, rushing the passer?
Well, we've been practicing an end for quite a while now, and so we just thought it'd be another good change-up. He's got some strength and quickness for that position.
Mike, I know you didn't get a sack until the last play of the game, but what did you think about the way that defensive line group pressured Rodgers?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. I thought he's a tough guy to sack because he can move so well in the pocket. We didn't allow him to scramble, except I think one time maybe. So that was good. We had to, we try to be careful with him because once he gets out of the pocket, it's bad news. And but I thought there was the one time when we had 12 guys on the field I think we had a sack there. It got called back, but it's not all about sacks. It's about playing team defense.
And Mike, how important was it to answer their first score in order to stay within your offensive game plan? Usually they're able to get out to a score, 2 scores, and make teams have to throw to chase. How important was that first drive and score?
Yeah, it was big. Because when you go out there and they go down and score the first play of the series, the first drive of the series.
Yeah, I don't know why the Vikings can't stop. I mean, I know we got a weak defense, but we just can't let teams keep going down the field on the very first play or at the very first drive of the game. Because when you do that, that puts all the pressure on your offense to have to go down and score a touchdown just to be tied in the game. So the Vikings defense, they need to work on that. Can't be doing that. Can't be giving the teams opening drives for touchdowns. It's crazy.
And that kind of gets some of the momentum out of you, but then you go back back down and score and say, okay, this is going to be a ball game. So, it was really good. It was big by our offense. The offense, I thought Kubiak did an outstanding job today, and so it was good all the way around.
Mike, with a win like this coming up ahead of the trade deadline, the magnitude of it, does it change potentially the direction the team was going to go or might go from here on out?
I don't believe so. I mean, last year we were pretty good at the trade deadline. It just depends, on what kind of offers we get or what kind of things we can come up with. It really has nothing to do with the wins at this point in time.
Mike, is this the craziest day you've had on the sidelines where you're losing guys left and right and you're trying to keep it all together and not lose your mind because you've got to teach them while it's all going on around you?
Well, I think, Jim, part of it was pretty crazy. The other part is, they've got Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, who I think Aaron Rodgers is the best in the business. So trying to manipulate ways to figure out how to stop him, I guess don't stop him, I never felt like the game was in our grasp, even though with the 57 seconds left and, he's got the ball in his hand and no timeouts. All the young guys I got playing in different spots. It was pretty rough. I'm worn out.
Mike, sorry. I didn't know if you were finished yet. I guess finally, giving it to Dalvin Cook 30 times. I mean, you said he had a good scheme. Gary had a good plan. Teams haven't done that against them basically since the NFC Championship last year. What did you see that you thought your front plus Dalvin could give you that kind of game today?
Well, we always hope that Dalvin can give us that kind of game, and we did a lot of the things that we typically do. The wide zone. We had a few inside zones. And some of it was at the end of the game where we were going to run the ball a few times more anyway. So in the fourth quarter, I think we ran it quite a few times. So that added to the mix. But when you have success running the ball, that adds to it. Kirk was 11 out of 14 today. We didn't turn the ball over. If the win would have been better, we probably would have had some more play actions in there because of the running game. Okay, thank you.
And off the headsets they come. Mike Zimmer wrapping up a very exhausting game for him on the sidelines. And Pete, before we hear from Kirk Cousins, before we break down more of what happened in this game, I want to ask you kind of a big picture thing because Mike Zimmer alluded. Someone asked him a question about the trading deadline, which is coming up in a couple of days. The Vikings were 1-5 coming into this game today. A bad loss to Atlanta here on this field behind us. People are thinking, okay, they're better off tanking for Trevor, tanking for this person. They have 10 games up. Take us in the locker room because I'm trying to emphasize as well, the players in the locker room don't give a rip about next year's draft, nor do the coaching staff. They got jobs on the line. They're playing for a lot. And the idea that somehow these games don't have the same significance to them with a 1-5 record as opposed to 5-1 is ridiculous from their standpoint.
And that's exactly right. The coach and the players, they go week to week. They may not, a lot of times you don't even know who you're playing next week because you just go. That's why teams have what they call a general manager. The general manager his job or her job, whatever, is to step back, look at the big picture and say, yes, we need to make a move here. We need to do something over here. How's it going to affect us in the draft? Coaches don't have the time, I don't think, to make those kinds of decisions. So it's up to the GM to do that. So again, it's up to Spielman to think and to see if there's an opportunity to bring someone or make a move to do something that's going to benefit this team in the long run, then they're going to go ahead and do that. It's not a desperation. It's not as if they're sitting back and saying, hell, had we been 1-6, we wouldn't make this move. But because you just beat the Green Bay Packers, we're going to, no, it absolutely cannot and is not that way.
And win or lose, the bullseye is always on the quarterback, in this case, Kirk Cousins, and his future contract. But for today, he's the winning quarterback against Aaron Rodgers. Let's hear from Kirk right now from Lambeau Field.
It's about time this bum won again.
First off, I'm relieved to hear that Cam Dantzler's doing okay, coming out of that serious situation. You never know how serious it is, so glad to hear that. And then just an excellent win on the road against a good football team. Hats off to our defense for the way they played, especially in the second half, holding a really good offense to only 22 points and making big play after big play. And then offensively, we made the most of our opportunities. We were able to control the clock, convert third downs, be productive in the red zone. And then you obviously got to tip your hat to Dalvin and the effort he gave today. Pretty impressive to have 4 touchdowns. And then, you also have to, anytime Dalvin plays that well, you got to look at, what CJ Ham did, what our tight ends did blocking, what our O-line did, and then you got to look at our coaches, and the run plays they put together, which were really well designed, and I think kept Green Bay off balance for most of the game. So just great to, be going home now with a divisional win against a good opponent, and looking forward to building on it, hopefully. So I'll take any questions you have.
Hey, Kurt, how electric was Dalvin on that 50-yard TD catch? And just talk about how important that was to leading to the victory.
Yes, it was a third down. So
that was huge.
First down with punting there. Not only do we get the first down, but he takes it all the way to the house. And, that's just ability. It's a talented player showing what he can do. Great job by our offensive line. They got 2 really good cut blocks right after Dalvin caught the ball that sprung him. And then great blocking down the field for him to be able to do that and run away from the defense. Huge play in the game. And, Chris, I was going to ask you, was that pass interference on her, was that truly pass interference? I didn't get to see it.
That's like Harrison Smith asking me questions a couple weeks on the conference call. I'm going to use a line you've used. I'm going to have to watch the film.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Hey, Kirk, how important was it mentally to kind of go, toe-to-toe with them at the beginning? Once they score, your next possession, you score, and the back and forth, just to kind of like a chess match, but that mentally you guys were in it and you had to prove that.
Yes, I try to, just play in a vacuum and understand.
Kirk Cousins, 160 yards, 11.4 yard average, 1 touchdown, 138.1 rating, and no turnovers. That's the big thing. This idiot didn't throw any interceptions.
It was great to be able to, control the clock a little bit, stay on the field. It's been unique. Several games this season, we just haven't run a lot of plays, especially in the first half. We've been productive for drives, but it's only been like 2 possessions, 3 possessions in the entire half. So that's been unique, but you play the game that you have to play, and we find a way to win.
And I can answer for Chris. I didn't think it was pass interference.
Thank you. All right, that helps. Because I in the field, I just thought I threw it right to him. I just didn't see it, but I wasn't sure.
It looked like a bad call.
Hey, Kirk, speaking of penalties, you can talk about take us through the stress that the first drive of the second half, stress that you and the receivers put on their DBs, the 2 third down penalties, the pass to BB when he's wide open, just that having those penalties.
Yeah, third down is just such a critical down. So I believe all 3 of those plays are third down. The throw to Chad, he makes a great play, separates versus man coverage, which we've said all year long. Chad Beebe has been separating versus man coverage, which is not easy to do against NFL defensive backs, and he's doing it. And it was great to get him an opportunity to get the football because he's been putting that on tape week in and week out. And then the corner out to Justin. Again, don't know how obvious the PI it was, but obviously a huge call for us on a third down there. And then again, third and goal. They play a loaded zone there. Adam Thielen, I felt, was getting behind the covers. The safety jumped Dalvin on the front of the end zone, and so I put it over his head to Adam, but Adam couldn't get off the coverage, and grateful they called holding, and it gave us a chance to run it in.
Kirk, we obviously asked you a lot in recent weeks about your interceptions and what have you. None today. Just how much does it help in the overall game, from your standpoint, when you got a guy like Dalvin Cook who's keeping defenses so honest and what have you?
Dalvin did a great job today. Anytime you score 4 touchdowns, you deserve some credit. And, just a great player, dynamic player. We're always trying to find ways to get him the football. I think of a third and long early in the game when I checked it down to him and he gets us the first down in the kind of the strike zone, high red zone area. We ended up, I believe, getting a touchdown that possession. So even those little plays that keep us on the field make a big difference. So it's not just running the ball; it's getting involved with the ball in his hands if it's catching the ball or running it.
Kirk, how much did the wind affect you when you're trying to throw the ball out there today?
Yeah, the wind was kind of the story of the day from warm-ups on, just trying to manage it and understand it. It was coming in from one end zone. You could see the flags at the top of the stadium, but then when you're on the field, it was actually swirling and flipping. So the way we were going in the fourth quarter was actually the challenge, and then the way we were going in the third quarter was the preferred way to be going. But it was actually the opposite of the flags at the top of the stadium. So you were just kind of always paying attention to it and being aware of it, and usually you just trust your instincts when you're playing with the wind, and it was a challenge today, especially then when you had the temperature.
Aaron Rodgers said something this week about looking at the flags and figuring out it's the opposite of that. Did you hear him say that, and did you file that away at all?
No, actually, our equipment managers were on top of it. When I got out there for warm-ups, 2 hours before the game, just throwing in a sweatshirt and pants, they said, if you'll notice, the flag's blowing that way, but look at the flags on the goalposts, and you can feel. And then they even said, down in one part of the field, you'll have less wind in general than the other about 80 yards of the field. So they were on top of it, and I hadn't been out there for 2 minutes, and they had the full answer.
Do you normally get that level of detail from the equipment managers on the specific weather conditions at different parts of the stadium?
Yeah, our guys do a great job. Dennis, Aaron, Adam, and Terrell, they're on top of it. They take pride in it. And, they got the longer length cleats for us every time we come here because this grass can be a little different. We can slip a little bit. So they know all the ins and outs. They've been doing it a long time. And I trust what they say.
Kirk, how impressive has it, from your perspective, been to see Eric Kendricks kind of keeping this defense together? I mean, there's injuries everywhere, and he's kind of that one consistent piece all season long.
Well, Courtney, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to talk about Eric because he's one of my favorite players. I say that when my boys Cooper and Turner are old enough, I'm going to get them Eric Kendricks jerseys because he's the player I want my kids to wear the jersey of. So I just think he's as good of a linebacker as there is in the league. The way he can cover a Devontae Adams down the middle of the field and also take on a pulling guard, to be that versatile and that athletic, it's special. And it's something I see every day in practice through OTAs and training camp. I go against him every day, and I just always tip my cap to him because I think he's not only a great athlete, but a very smart player, and we're lucky to have him.
Can you walk us through a little bit on the Dean Lowry sack? Was that they just cast right? Or?
Yeah, that's a great question. He did a good job. Yeah, he played up the field. They've done that to us now for several games that we played them, and tough deal there. I'd love to be able to just throw it away when I see him there and not take the sack. That's probably the coaching point after the play. But it certainly is a tough play. The answer is, if he's going to get out of his gap like that and guess right, then we got to have a way to come back and put him in a bind for doing that.
Yeah, and you mentioned that they've done that a while now. It seems like ever since week 2 of last year, they've been crashing in on the quarterback on play action. Does that limit your play action opportunities?
Yeah, we just want to be smart with with that, in terms of how they're going to play it and then how we're going to respond. So we definitely take that into account.
All right. Mark Rosen back with Pete Burchich. And Pete, we look at Kirk Cousins' scatter chart. Not much to look at downfield because he threw a 1-yard pass to Dalvin Cook and he ran it 49 after that for the touchdown.
I mean, I'm surprised he even had to take a shower after this one. I mean, he didn't have a completion more than 10 yards down the field. And you do what you have to do, obviously. And if there is a game that you would like to not have your quarterback throwing the ball deep and down the field, this is it. The outdoor Lambeau, colder than you think, windy, that whole thing. But I think that just speaks to what Dalvin Cook did. I mean, how many third downs did we have that were 1-yard passes that went for touchdowns or for first downs? And conversely, you look at Rodgers, his wasn't deep and down the field much either. It wasn't until they got behind by a few scores that they were able to get or try to get deeper and more down the field.
I think he completed passes to 10 different receivers. I want to really recognize is Devontae Adams. That's 7 receptions for 53 yards. So that's modest numbers to say the least. And in your opinion, the Packers need to make a move for another wide receiver before the trading deadline expires, because if they want to contend for not just the divisional title but potentially go to a Super Bowl, they have to improve in that area.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I'm going to end this shit right here. There was a big Viking win. Vikings win this game 28-22. And what ending was a big sack on Aaron Rodgers and a fumble recovery. As you guys can see here, I am new to this channel. I'm just building this channel. If you come across it, please like, share, subscribe to my channel, and share it out to fellow Viking fans. Peace, everybody. Take care and be safe. Skol Vikings.